This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for April 28th, 2024. This is season 13, episode number 42, and episode 427 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everybody. I am Bob Howard, and welcome to our Sunday weekend wrap-up show, which is almost turned into a Monday weekend wrap-up show, although I'm sure the majority of you will probably be listening to this on Monday and Tuesday. But I just got done watching the Carolina Thunderbirds defeating the Columbus River Dragons in the second overtime period. I think it was 4 minutes and 48 seconds into the game, into the second overtime period. And wow, what a game between those two teams who are huge rivals. And I'm going to guess that a good portion of the Binghamton Black Bears fans wished what they had just done was against the Danbury Hat-Tricks, because of course that is the big rivalry in the Empire Division. But the Black Bears took on the Motor City Rockers, and they put up a very good fight. And now we have a matchup of the Binghamton Black Bears versus essentially the home state of Brooks Hill. That's right. Broadcaster of the Year, Brooks Hill, is going to get to go home next weekend and spend a little time in his home state of North Carolina as the Binghamton Black Bears will take on the Carolina Thunderbirds, who defeated the Columbus River Dragons 2-1 in double overtime, which is just so crazy to think about. But that's exactly what happened. And, you know, if you were rooting for the Carolina Thunderbirds, then you are happy that Gus Ford scored 4 minutes and 43 seconds into the second overtime period. What a game. What a series between Carolina and Columbus. And now Carolina and Binghamton are going to have a 5-game championship series that will start this upcoming Friday in Carolina, in Winston-Salem at the fairgrounds. They will be starting, they'll get the first 2 games in Carolina, and then the remaining 3 games, depending on what is needed, will happen in Binghamton that following weekend. So before we get to the rest of everything else, May 3rd, which is a Friday, and May 4th, they'll be in Carolina, in Winston-Salem, for games 1 and 2. Games 3, 4, and 5, if they need 4 and 5, will be May 10th, May 11th, and May 12th. So that's pretty much it, folks. It's not it with the podcast. I got a lot to go over, and we got a great show for you, but that is going to be the schedule. All the talk about Columbus in 3 games versus Carolina in 5 games, it doesn't really matter. Carolina took care of that, and I think they're going to need, you know, as much of the 5 games to beat the Binghamton Black Bears as anybody might. You know, I think the Binghamton Black Bears are going to be the team that at the end of the day is going to be hoisting that cup. I just from watching this game here, there were opportunities in this game that if that was the Binghamton Black Bears, they would have capitalized a lot sooner than Carolina did. I truly believe that. Now, I'm not saying Carolina is not a good team, and I'm not saying Columbus is not a good team. What played a big part in Carolina winning against Columbus is that they play each other so well against each other, and they have done so for the last couple years. The rivalry between those two teams has been phenomenal. So that's it. Carolina defeats Columbus. Essentially, the first game went to Columbus. Brendan Colgan had a shutout, a 3-0 win on Friday night, and then on Saturday, it was a 3-2 overtime win for the Carolina Thunderbirds, and then again a double overtime winner tonight by Gus Ford, 4:43 into it, and the Carolina Thunderbirds knock off the best team in the league, points wise, wins wise, and that's about it. All right, so let's get into the must reads. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you're listening to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for the Power Play Post Show and share with all of your friends about the Power Play Post Show. Check out BinghamtonHockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, we'll talk to former Black Bear Kyle Powell, and from the Black Bears themselves, Austin Thompson and Coach Sherwood. That is post-game comments from Saturday night. You'll want to stick around and hear those. The Black Bears sweep the Motor City Rockers in 2 games, winning Game 1 4-3, and then Game 2 3-2 in overtime. This is only the 4th time a team in Binghamton, New York, is going to a Pro Hockey Championship Series in whichever league that they were in. So the first time it happened in 1974-75 with the Broom Dusters. They went against the famous Johnstown Jets. They did lose that series to Johnstown. I believe it was a 3-1 loss in that championship series. In 82-83, the Binghamton Whalers lost to the New Brunswick Hawks. Now, what's special about the New Brunswick Hawks is that my good friend Dave Andrews was a part of the management team there in New Brunswick, and most people who follow me from the HL days knows that I spoke to Dave Andrews many, many times here on the show, at All-Star games. Great man, love him to death, but he was a big part of that New Brunswick team. So the Johnstown Jets, part of the Slapshot era, which Broom Dusters were obviously a part of as well, and then New Brunswick. Dave Andrews, a great man, just loved him. He just retired just a few years ago from being the AHL commissioner. And then the Binghamton Senators versus the Houston Aeros in the 2010-2011 Calder Cup Finals. Obviously, we all know that was the only championship in Binghamton hockey history so far. And then, of course, here and now in 2023-2024 season, the Binghamton Black Bears and the Carolina Thunderbirds, that will start this upcoming Friday in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Okay, let's look at the 2 very tough games versus the Rockers. First, on Friday night, the Black Bears defeat the Rockers 4-3 and compete another come-from-behind win. I mean, we're talking about 19 of those now, 18 of those at least now this season for them. In the first period, the Motor City Rockers took the lead at the 15:39 mark off the stick of TJ Delaney, one of the guys I mentioned that you got to look out for and everything on the Rockers team. Then in the second period, the Black Bears fought back, came back. Now, one of the things that me and Gary Ryan from the Fed League Fascists talked about is Cam Clark. Boy, does he! I mean, he's in college 4 days out of the week. Okay, and then he comes and he plays on the weekend. He just finished his season up with Morrisville. He's finishing up his college degree to get his degree. That's what I love about these guys, right? And he comes out and he scores that first goal, ties the game up at the 8:12 mark of the second period. Then, just 20 minutes later, Colin Fitzgerald, someone who did not play with the Black Bears most of the season because he was up in the SP, kind of regrets that he did that because it didn't work out for him. He comes back to the Black Bears and he's scored some pretty timely frigging goals, right? They take the lead 2-1 in the second period. Now in the third period, they go up and they score another goal. Connor Smith scores 7-14. I think that was his second of the weekend, which is pretty impressive. And no, it was his first of the weekend because this was the first game. But then TJ Sneath gets on the score sheet on a power play goal, 12-17 into the third. Binghamton then takes the lead again by 2 goals with another goal from Cam Clark. He had 2 in the game. That was at the 14:40 mark. And then Just about a minute and 16 seconds later, Jonathan Giuliano gets on the score sheet himself. And then it's a 4-3 game. The Rockers pull their goalie, Trevor Babin, and the Black Bears defend that off, and they get the win. So they win in Game 1. Now, in Game 2, the Black Bears win in overtime, 3-2, after an overtime goal from Austin Thompson. Now, if you haven't seen the video of this goal from Austin Thompson, it's a pretty impressive goal. Ricardo Gonzalez did not expect – I don't think he expected the shot. I think he expected Austin to either pass the puck or move around. I know there was some talk about Danny Vanderweel maybe not moving. I don't think anybody on the ice thought he was taking that shot except for Austin Thompson. And it's a low percentage shot that scores goals. But it worked this time, right? It just did the right thing. It was something that Gonzalez did not expect. And I don't think it's a mistake on Gonzalez. I really don't. I don't think that's what it is. I think any expert that would look at that shot would say that is a high risk, low percentage, getting through, and it got through. But let's talk a little bit about the other goals that were scored in that game. 8:23 in, I was really happy that Josh Fletcher got on the score sheet, right? He gets a goal, a beautiful assist from Gavin Yates. And then at the 13:25 mark, Connor Smith in the first period also gets another goal. So he gets his second goal of the weekend because he got the first goal the night before. So he's on the score sheet as well. And the Black Bears are up 2-0, right? So you're thinking, all right, this is good, right? But the Motor City Rockers, they battle back, right? They're a good team. They're coached very well. I think they play well defensively. And I think if you pepper their goaltenders, you're going to get through. And that's the one thing that the Black Bears are probably the best at in this league is just sending as many shots as they can. Now, the more shots you put on goaltenders, as long as they're increasingly getting better in quality shots, you're eventually going to break through, especially in this league. And the Black Bears are very good at that. Hopefully I'll run the numbers for the Thursday podcast about, shots on goal for the Black Bears versus shots on goal for the Carolina Thunderbirds, because I think it would be a pretty interesting look at, because I don't think Mario Cavalier has seen as many shots as he's going to see, except for probably when the Black Bears and the Thunderbirds played way back early on in the season. Okay, so Motor City, 16:32 into the first period, right? So we're near the end of the first period. Declan Conway, he gets on the score sheet, makes it a 2-1 game. Nothing in the second period. Okay, there was nothing in the second period goal wise, and then the third period happened, and there was a little bit of craziness in the third period. There was a little bit of there was obviously a goal that tied the game up. I'm going to pull up everything here so I can kind of properly commentate on this, okay? So in the third period, at the 11:26 mark, that's where things kind of changed for the Rockers. And I don't necessarily mean for the bad, right? Because they tied it up with 5 seconds left to go in the third period, and so it forced it into overtime. But it kind of did, there was something that Coach Sherwood told me is that they were gunning for Trevor Babin because they know that you can set him off, right? And it's amazing, too, because I hear all about how nice of a guy he is off the ice. Like, he is literally generally a nice guy. And I've heard it from more than one person. It's multiple people and everything. But on ice, he is a fiery competitor that you can get into his head a little bit, right? And that's okay. I think there's a part of that. But I still think he's a good goaltender. But you can get into his head, get him off his game, and that's how you beat him, right? Well, there was a play where Tyson Kirkby was in tight on him. Trevor kind of goes at Kirkby a little bit, and Kirkby gets in his face. Well, then it just kind of blows up. Now, what's very interesting about this is how the referees called this. And I'm going to speak in the sense that I'm not on the ice. I'm not Tyson Kirkby, so I don't know everything. I know Jesse Anderson was getting his head pounded in by one of the Rockers players, yet there was no penalty there. But here's what I'm going to say, okay? Tyson Kirkby gets a roughing call. So does Ryan Tonadi at the 11:26 mark. Trevor Babin gets a continuing altercation, game misconduct, okay? So he technically has to leave the game, right? Kirkby and Rotondi, they both get continuing altercation misconducts. Now, there was stuff going on the ice that wasn't even called as well at the same time. I mean, there literally could have been 3 or 4 more penalties that just weren't called. A couple more roughings, maybe on Jesse Anderson, even though I really didn't think Jesse Anderson did anything. But there were 2 Rockers literally on Jesse Anderson's. I can't figure that out. Jesse, if you're listening to the show, you want to send me a message, I would love to know how the referees could explain them not calling anything on the guys that were on you. But either way, that's besides the point. So either way, all this happened at the 11:26 mark, right? And then in comes Ricardo Gonzalez. Now, there was a really long delay during this process. And at one point, Trevor Babin, he's over in the corner. And I want to say this very clearly. When it was announced what the penalties were that were called, I don't remember hearing that there was a game misconduct on Trevor Babin, but I heard misconduct definitely for Tyson Kirkby and Rotondi. So I don't know exactly what they called, what Frank Perney said, because I don't know what the referee said to him. But clearly, Trevor gets the game misconduct. Now, there's some things here that we got to look at. It's okay for a goalie to get involved and interact with other players in the blue crease, right? That's his little home, right? It's his home little section. But at some point, everything kind of moves out of the crease. And I think the referees were basically saying, you have to stop. You guys need to stop. And they weren't stopping, both Kirkby and Babin. Now, at some point down there, and again, I'm not Trevor Babin, I'm not Tyson Kirkby, I'm not on the ice, I'm not a referee, I'm not seeing that part of it. But at some point, the referee decided to give him a game misconduct. I don't know if he did from watching the video, I don't know if he did anything more than what the other guys did, what Rotondi did and Kirkby. So they get the 10-minute misconduct. So they go out of the third period. Everybody leaves the ice, right? Now, technically, Babin has to keep his gear on because if Gonzalez gets hurt and it's still a tie game, technically he has to come in, even with a game misconduct. You cannot leave a game having no backup goaltender. You just can't do it. So Babin has to be ready still. But he's standing over in the corner. He doesn't know what's going on. It looked like he was literally confused on why he was being kicked out of the game. Honestly, I don't blame him. Now, it's advantageous for the Black Bears, but it was very confusing, right? And the one thing that we don't get explanations of anything of this, right? I mean, I spoke to Coach Sherwood afterwards to ask him about the no goal because there was a no goal. And I'm not going to talk about no goals. I don't talk about them here on the show usually when they happen or don't happen. Basically, this game probably would, at this point, would have been, it wouldn't have been tied. It would have been a 3-2. It would have been a 3-1 game at this point. It would have been 3-1 at this point before they got to the end of the game where the TJ Sneath 5 second to go empty netter or extra attacker a goal would have happened. But there was a goal that was called off, and they reviewed it, and they must have been reviewing that thing for 7 minutes. And at one point, the referees look up at the big board, which technically they're not supposed to do. They are supposed to make their decision on what's on that tablet, at least how I understand the rules, right? Not looking up at the big board to see if they can see it any clearer. Now, it was waved off immediately, right? And that's something that Coach Sherwood will talk about, and you'll hear that from his post-game comments here in just a little bit, right? So they call off they call off they call it a no goal. Then they go and they review it, and they review it for a very long time, and they come to the same decision. Now, what they told Coach Sherwood is that it went off Kirkby's glove, and that he kind of motioned it into the net, which technically is illegal. I didn't see that. That's not what I saw. To me, it looked like it went off the stick, not off the glove. But, the referee, I don't know if he was in the right position or whatever. I know I went down and I talked to Ben Zigali, who is the radio guy for the Rockers, and he believed it went off the glove as well. So people saw it differently no matter where you were. I think most of the fans in the arena saw it as a goal. Either way, that really kind of leads us to this 11:26 mark. And this all happens. Trevor Babin's out of the game. Ricardo Gonzalez comes into the game, and we carry back on. And then it takes until the end of the third period with 5 seconds to go for TJ Sneath to score it. And then we go into overtime. So both teams go off, they come back, and then it takes 11 minutes and 28 seconds, and Austin Thompson, again, go watch the video. If you haven't seen the video, it's actually on the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. This crazy angled shot, which was pretty good. He was on the goal line, and then he kind of came off a couple feet. Then he took the shot, and Ricardo appeared to have the post covered up pretty good, right? So his skate was up against the post, and he looked like he defended it really well, and that puck went in and kind of went through his 5-hole at a strange angle and just went through. I don't think he expected it at all, but that's what it was, a 3-2 win for the Binghamton Black Bears in Game 2. What a crazy game. There's a part of me that should have just gone over and seen if I could get some words with Trevor Babin just to see his thoughts on this whole thing. If you're a Rockers fan and you feel like you've been robbed by the referees or by the situation, I'm sorry. This was good hockey. Both games. Great hockey. I thought both teams played very, very well. But again, the better team all season did win this series. And that's very, very true. And the plan that they put into place definitely worked. So that's pretty much it for the two games. Here are the Black Bear stats from against the Rockers. Now, against the Rockers, Gavin Yates had 4 assists for 4 points. He had the most points of anybody. Now, again, you're going to see that this is going to be a common thing with the Black Bears, right? Like in Watertown, not a lot of guys had high numbers, right? Because they spread out the scoring so well. This is something that I really think people need to understand, that if Carolina tries to shut down the top line, the second line is going to score. If you try to shut down the second line, the third line is going to score because it happened in this series, right? Gavin Yates, 4 points, or 4 assists for 4 points. Connor Smith, 2 goals and 2 points. Cameron Clark, 2 goals and 2 points, and a game-winning goal. Austin Thompson had a game-winning goal for 1 point as well. Josh Fletcher had a goal. Colin Fitzgerald, defenseman, had a goal. Oliveri, Weber, Jesse Anderson, Justin Samaro, and Tyson Kirkby all had an assist, and just spread out, and that's huge, and that really does make a difference. Okay, Connor McAnanama, 2 games played, 2 wins. Overall, he saved 56 of 60 shots in the series and had a 2.29 goals against average and a .933 save percentage. He obviously had better numbers, I think, in the second game than the first game, but still overall very, very solid and playing very well. I think Connor McAnanama right now is playing the best hockey he's played all season long. Okay, so let's look at the stats for the Black Bears for the first 4 games played. And there's a couple things I want to point out here that I think are very important. First of all, Gavin Yates leads the team in points, but does not lead the team in goal scoring, okay? Because they spread things out a lot. But Gavin Yates is a major part of this team, and how well the team is going to play will depend on how well Gavin Yates plays. How well Gavin Yates played is depending on whether or not he's got a clean sheet of ice to go back and forth. And I don't mean clean as the Zamboni was just out there. What I mean by that is that Gavin Yates likes open space. The more open space you have, the more Gavin can skate, and he's a good skater. He's fluid, and he makes decisions. Sometimes people don't like that he doesn't pass. Sometimes people like that he does. But he must be passing because he's got 2 goals and 7 assists for 9 points, right? Connor Smith has 4 goals so far in this playoffs, 1 assist for 5 points. And Tyson Kirkby, right? The guy who's had the most clutch goals for the Binghamton Black Bears this season, he's got 5 assists and no goals. That's not a bad thing because his best playoff hockey is still yet to come, okay? That's what you have to figure out here. Colin Fitzgerald, 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points, and then there's a bunch of guys. I mean, there's like 15 guys that have points in this game. Cameron Clark has 2 goals. Dakota Bond has 2 goals, but he wasn't even a factor. He was playing good defense. He didn't really have to score, which was pretty cool. Kyle Stefan has a goal and assist. I think he'll be a factor in the next series for sure, without a doubt. Josh Fletcher had a goal, and there's a lot of people on here with some assists. Okay, the one thing I want to point out here, the Black Bears did not score a power play goal against Motor City. They are one of the best teams on the penalty kill, right? Along with the Black Bears and the Columbus River Dragons, who are now out. Columbus River Dragons are the best on the PK. They are very good on the PK. They're out. We don't have to face them, right? The Black Bears and the Motor City Rockers, they were the other 2 very good teams. Carolina's PK is okay, but I think the Black Bears are going to score. But they did not score a power play goal in this game, in this series against Motor City, and that's okay. They didn't need to, so don't worry about it. Donald Oliveri, Dakota Bond, they'll get their chances in the next round. All right, shorthanded goals. We got 1 from Colin Fitzgerald. And then game-winning goals. This is the important part. The game-winning goals is spread out. It's not the same guy. It's not just Tyson Kirkby or Connor Smith, right? Oliveri's got a game-winning goal. Austin Thompson's got 1. Dakota Bond's got 1. And Cameron Clark's got 1, right? So you got a defenseman. You've got a forward from one line, a forward from another line. And then, Oliveri and Austin Thompson are on the same line, right? So 2 from one line, 1 from the third line, and 1 from a defenseman. That is spread out. I've been saying all year long, that's how they're going to win. They're going to win with secondary scoring and getting clutch goals from everybody on the team, not just Tyson Kirkby. And I'm telling you right now, Kirkby will play his best playoff hockey in the next series. He'll get a goal or 2, right? And they'll be important goals. Okay, so the Black Bears will face off against the Carolina Thunderbirds in the championship series. This season, the Black Bears are 2-1-1 against the Thunderbirds. The series is set to begin on Friday in Carolina, with Game 2 being Saturday in Carolina. Then they will take the 5 days off, and the series will then transfer to Binghamton, where Game 3 will be Friday, May 10th. And if they need a Game 4 and a Game 5, that'll be on Saturday and Sunday, May 11th and May 12th. That is official. It's final. It's set in stone. That's what we're doing, right? The ice can come out in Binghamton and Carolina after the first 2 games and then the last 3 games. It's that simple. So we'll have more on this playoff series against Carolina. Now remember, against Carolina, the Black Bears this season are 2-1-1 against the Thunderbirds. Okay, so without a doubt, the Black Bears have had some success against them. There is some games that they can watch. Some of the players are different from the beginning of the season. The Black Bears might even be better now than they were back then. So we'll definitely see. I think there's a lot of people that are happy that it's against Carolina. It's a 5-game series. And the Black Bears, if they win the championship, right? When they win, they can win it on home ice. And that's beautiful. And, I mean, I get it. It takes away from Carolina to be able to win at home. I understand that's kind of a bummer for them. And I think it's a bummer for any team. But the travel just doesn't dictate it, and not in this league. All right, so coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show, you're going to hear 2 post-game interviews with with Austin Thompson and Coach Brant Sherwood. So we're going to take it over, and the first person we talked to, we only got about 1 minute and 20 seconds with him, but we wanted to get him in and get his thoughts, obviously, on scoring that goal. Here is Austin Thompson.
Talk to me about the emotions in between the third period and overtime. You guys allow a goal with 5 seconds left to force the extra frame. Is there a little bit of nerves, frustration? What was the
definitely frustration? No one wants to give up a goal with 5 seconds left to OT, but no, I mean, we trust in each other. We've won games multiple ways this season, and what's another OT win for us? I mean, we're used to it. We're battle tested, and we're just ready to go.
Who do you want?
Don't matter. It don't matter. It does not matter. We want whoever wants to play.
Last question for me, Austin. A packed crowd here tonight. What does it mean to you to be able to punch that ticket for the hometown crowd?
Oh, it's insane. These fans are awesome. They supported us for the last 2 years I've been here, and just seeing them fill up the red seats and turn into green is amazing. We're just happy to do it in front of our fans. We got the best fans in the league, and we want to bring a ship home for them.
Tomer, you and I talked a little bit about your score for Kentucky. You get the game-winning goal, probably the most important goal at this point going in this season. Your thoughts on just how far you've come this season?
Definitely frustrating at the beginning, like we talked about, but I mean, if I could score a goal, why not make an OT one to send us to the finals? So I'll take it.
Awesome.
And that was Austin Thompson talking a little bit about it. And I asked the question right there at the end about his, because he and I have talked about his goal production, right? Because not because I was criticizing him, but because he was definitely, thinking about it a little bit, thinking, why am I not scoring as much? Now, his role has changed a little bit this year compared to last year, and so that happened. But it's very good to know that he, is not completely down on himself, because he should, because that was the biggest goal he scored so far this season. And it's an important goal, and it's a goal that everyone's going to remember about this season. Even if they don't win the championship, they're going to remember that goal that put them into the championship series. So that was very cool. All right, so next we're going to talk to Coach Sherwood, and then after Coach Sherwood, we're going to have our big interview with Kyle Powell. So coming up next right now, here is Brant Sherwood.
All right, Coach, we've talked many times. Talk a little bit about this win, a character win, as you've mentioned many times to me before.
I don't know. It's probably like our 30th character win of the year. These guys, keep pumping my heart rate up. But that's what makes this team so special, and just instant relief after that game. I'm so proud of these guys.
Run me through the emotions as a head coach in between that 5 seconds, scoring the goal and going into overtime. What was the message to the guys in the locker room coming out for that overtime period?
Well, for me, instantly, it's a punch to the gut. I think it was a punch to the gut. Everyone. It was pretty emotional in the locker room when I first got back. Guys they're pretty pissed off about it, and we just need to regroup. And I think I just need to remind them how special they are and how they can rely on their experience in prior games, that they're able to come back and they're able to kind of change momentum of games when they turn it on.
Now, one of the goals was called a no goal and everything, and probably changed a little bit the element of this game, allowed Motor City to stay into it a little bit. What did you see? What were you told about the no goal?
I was told it was hit in by the hand with the forward motion, but they hit him right in the chest. I think every single fan in this building was on the same page as I was. I just don't like how quick it was called a no goal. It was instant. It's almost like predetermined. So I think they need to reevaluate their performance tonight.
When it comes to composure, you talked about composure going into overtime. Those last 7 minutes or so with the whole skirmish in the corner between Kirkby and Babin, how are you able to keep your guys calm, cool, and collected on the bench in between that really just 7 minutes of chaos per se?
Just a reset philosophy. All that emotion happened, but honestly, we were all kind of happy to see Babin get out of the net, because bringing in the backup goaltender is huge. Kudos to the kid, though. He made some pretty big saves, and that's hard to do in a building like this with their kind of do or die opportunity. It's he played a great game, and he should be proud of himself being able to step up in that instance.
You and I and myself and Don talked about getting into the mind of Trevor Babin. Do you guys think you did that effectively tonight?
We did it again. we had a target, and we talked about it through the week, and we were going to let him hear it. We were going to stop in his crease. We were going to be all over him, and the boys executed it pretty decently.
Do you guys care who you play next?
Maybe Carolina for travel purposes. It was a tough travel weekend, but no, it's always about us, and it's about us. We don't care who we play next.
I want to branch off of that a little bit. The team making it to the Commissioner's Cup final for the first time in franchise history. Overall thoughts on what that means for the program moving forward?
Just, I really think Andreas and I created a winning culture here this year, and our philosophy going into the summer was to recruit young college kids and kind of not go after the recycled Federal League players, and kind of go new and fresh and hungry, and guys that want to move up or win a championship. And it got us here, so hopefully it gets us to bring the cup home.
When do you guys start preparing for the next round?
Monday morning. I'll be preparing tomorrow, but these guys need a day off. They had a tough travel schedule, and relax. Try to get away from hockey for a day. I know it's going to be hard. I'll be watching film and stuff, but Monday morning is a big pre-scout day to whoever our opponent is.
Awesome.
Lastly, was there anything that you weren't too impressed with on your team's game tonight?
It's a tough question.
I'm going to say burying our grade A opportunities. I thought we had a ton of chances to kind of close it out. We had a 5-on-3 opportunity, and we just hit a lot of glass tonight. If we put a few more pucks on net, who knows if that goes in or cash in on a rebound. So I would say burying our grade A's.
Lastly, anything you want to add?
Let's pack the house for the next home game. I'm super excited. That was electric tonight. Thank you so much for showing up and supporting us all year. We had some ups and downs, but you can really feel it in this building. And I think there's a seventh man that might have propelled us to that win.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buchinski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Very excited to have this gentleman on. We've been talking for over a year about having him come on to the Power Play Post Show and just get to talk about his playing career. He is a 4-time Defenseman of the Year in the Federal Prospects Hockey League. He is Kyle Powell, and just recently with the Elmira River Sharks. Kyle, welcome to the show, and glad to have you on, and glad to finally get to talk to you, and not just a little bit of a Facebook Messenger thing, but actually get to talk to you in person.
Thanks for having me, Bobby. It's been a long time coming. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But, it's good to be here. I've obviously followed along with pretty much almost every episode that you've had, so it was just a matter of time before I got on here myself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You've heard me ramble. Now you get to live it in person, which is great. Kyle, you're actually up there right now. You're from Ajax, Ontario, Canada, and everything. And as we talked, a little bit north of, northeast of Toronto, very close to the lake and everything. Talk about a little bit what it was like to grow up in Ajax, and I know you were in Scarborough for a little bit, and then mostly up in Ajax. Talk a little bit about Ajax and what it's like.
It's home. Pretty much been here 26 years in Ajax. My parents lived in Scarborough for the first few years of my life. I was born in North York, so I don't really remember much of that early stage of my life, but ever since then, Ajax has been nothing but great memories and a lot of fun times growing up. So, grew up playing hockey here. It's been good.
Now, what's Ajax like? Is it small? Is it big? Is there a lot of hockey rinks in Ajax, or how many rinks do you guys have there?
I think we have 3 rinks. One has 4 pads. One's got a small little one. That one is actually right next to my high school, so that was a cool little barn to play in for high school hockey and stuff like that. But between like the town of Ajax, then you have Whitby and Oshawa that are next door, Pickering and Scarborough that are just west of us. I mean, between the 5 little towns, cities, whatever you want to call them, I think there's probably over 150 rinks.
Oh, that's crazy. So finding ice time when you're a a young guy, when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and finding ice time is not a problem, or is it still a problem because of how popular hockey is?
I mean, they do usually book up for all the youth teams and minor hockey and kind of like the junior teams growing up. But, they had a lot of slots open for, like, open skate, shinny, there's stick and puck. So there was multiple options between different rinks of different days. So the availability was, like, pretty much open, as long as you were willing to drive, say, 10 to 30 minutes maximum for ice time.
Now, when you were young, did you play any other sports? Was baseball, football, basketball, any of those ever in your eyesight, or was it always just hockey?
I was actually a very avid soccer player.
Oh, soccer! I forgot about mentioning soccer.
I had growing up, I was playing the top division for soccer and hockey at the same time. So
wow.
I was fluctuating soccer in the summer and then hockey in the winter. And I think it was my grade 10 or grade 11 year. I had a huge soccer showcase in Minnesota. And from that tournament, I excelled quite well. And I ended up getting, 15 to 25 scholarship offers. But for some reason, deep down in my head, I just wanted to continue to play hockey. So I kind of put soccer on the back burner and just chose hockey and kind of just took off from there.
Now, what position did you play in soccer?
I played left defense and center defensive mid.
So you've always had...
It's kind of funny because now I'm a professional hockey defenseman, so it was kind of fitting that I was a soccer defenseman and then kind of turned into a hockey defenseman. So
now, were you not a defenseman in hockey in youth when you played young?
For minor hockey, I played forward pretty much every year, but I was always that versatile player that if we ever had injuries or our defenseman took penalties, I was always the first guy to go back. So
now,
my main position was forward, but I did play a lot of defense throughout the years.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you this. When did you become such a good passer? Because one of the things that I've always noticed about you, watching you play since obviously the Black Bears came, into town and everything, and you were on that team, and even since then, is that one of the things, tape to tape, you're one of the best passers. When did that start to click for you as a kid? Was it a drill? Was it something that a coach was able to get you to work on? When did that start happening for you that you became such a good passer?
I would say just growing up, you inherit skills a little bit better. Playing at the top level, AAA, for most of my youth hockey, it was tough to make mistakes because you would get benched, and it was only a positive learning curve. Like, if you got benched, it wasn't like, oh, you suck kind of thing. It was just more of a, you're not doing the right things right now, but you'll work on it. You'll get the hang of things over time. So I think just growing up playing at such a high level, it was just a standard, not to make many mistakes. And obviously now growing up as a defenseman, if you don't make a good first pass or if you miss many passes, you're not going to be a defenseman for quite long. So
if you could explain to some of the fans who maybe don't play but they're avid watchers and they watch, how do you make a good, crisp, clean pass? How do you need to have the puck on the ice? Where do you need to hit it on your stick? That type of thing. Can you kind of explain that for some of the fans that don't know?
Well, pretty much, depends on who you're passing to. Like,
sure.
I guess for some of the fans, if you're looking at a fast skater like Gavin Yates, you got to take into consideration his speed, his shiftiness. So you got to judge your pass power based on how fast your teammate's skating. Basically, if you fans have ever watched me play, I only tape like the middle of my stick. It's like 4 or 5 strips of tape. Pretty much everything runs off the middle of your blade. So I kind of just do it. It's more of like a style thing growing up too. I kind of just use less and less tape and just kind of adapt it over to the middle of my blade. So pretty much you just want to make a nice, clean, crisp pass off the middle of your blade. You get the most power out of it. If it's off the toe or the heel, it's not going to be as accurate going to whichever teammate you're passing to. So just over the years, you kind of adapt to who's on the ice with you, and you pick up on little things over time too.
And what does the tape do for the stick when you are making a pass?
The tape just kind of acts as a little bit of a grip, so it kind of just grips the puck a little bit better than no tape on your stick.
Right.
So it just more control, pretty much.
But I think that some guys just are better at it than others. I think it's a feel type of thing. I talk about physical skill, hockey IQ, and mental fortitude, and whatnot. Where do you think passing the puck kind of fits into one of those three? Is it just a physical skill thing that you learn, or is there some sort of hockey IQ or mental fortitude in that kind of makes you a really good passer?
I think it's a little bit of the power and control, but it's definitely part of the IQ for sure. I mean, you can take anyone and you can take a baseball player and get them to stand still, and they can pretty much make a 5-foot pass kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So to make a 50-foot pass, I don't think people can do it that don't do it often. So it definitely comes into the hockey IQ column there.
That's very interesting. It's very interesting. All right, so you were playing AAA and everything, and I'm guessing that AAA in the Toronto area is one of the more competitive areas for AAA hockey in all of Canada, or in obviously the United States as well. How skillful are the guys that play in AAA?
I mean, growing up, I was on one of the better AAA teams in our, I guess you can call it our division.
Sure.
We played in the OMHA, so the Ontario Minor Hockey Association. Then I think there's 5 throughout all of Ontario. So then you have the GTHL, which is the Greater Toronto Hockey League. And they just they spread out. There's a northern, up in Sudbury and North Bay area, there's a northern division for AAA. So AAA was all over the place. So to be at the AAA level, it definitely took a lot of time and hours put in. I mean, to be a player was one thing, but for the parents, any mom and dad knows that it's almost like a second full-time job. So it definitely takes up a lot of your time.
Now, as you know, a lot of the guys in Binghamton here are actually from Adrian College. And you went to Adrian College from 2009 to 2013. How did you get hooked up going to Adrian College and playing for the club team?
So, actually, on my hockey DB, that is a mistake.
It is incorrect.
Yes, so there's another Kyle Powell in this world. He was in 1991. He's the one that went to Adrian College. Because in 2009, I would have only been in grade 9.
That's
so
okay. So the math didn't work to me, but your face was clearly there. I mean, that smile and the one missing tooth and your red hair. I was like, I had to ask because it didn't make sense to me as well. Okay, well, that makes perfect sense because at that time period, you would have been doing your AAA and eventually making it, to the Port Perry and everything.
Yeah, I mean, the hockey DB profile, that is my base, obviously.
Yeah,
that's you. And everything.
Yep.
But that data from Adrian is incorrect because I would have only been in the 9th grade. So unless I was this amazing 14-year-old to go to college and play with men pretty much at that time, would have been pretty spectacular, but I can't take credit for that one.
So you're not the Doogie Howser of hockey, right?
No, I am not.
Hey, do you understand that reference? I hope you do, because...
oh, I do, yes.
Okay, you do know who Doogie Howser is. Okay, great. Excellent. Well, at least now I don't feel like a total idiot, which is great. So talk a little bit about Port Perry, and because that led to Oshawa, and I think you had a phenomenal season with Oshawa, but talk a little bit about Port Perry before getting to Oshawa.
I mean, Port Perry was kind of unique, so... before I went to Port Perry, I was only playing like a juvenile AAA here in Ajax. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I didn't even know about junior hockey at 18, 17, or 16. So I seen that the Whitby Theory were having tryouts the one day, and I kind of went to it. And I didn't do too bad. I made it on to the next skate. But the junior C team coach came up to me. His name was John Camp at the time. Him and Claire Cornish were recruiting, and they kind of just came over and gave me his card and says, you have a spot on my team if you want it right now.
Wow.
So in my head, I was like, I didn't between junior A and junior B, junior C, honestly. So I was like, oh, the junior team wants me. I'm going to play there. So I ended up playing there 2 years, and that was kind of the 2 years that I transitioned to more of a full-time defenseman. I was still playing forward here and there, but that's where I kind of switched into defense. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the stats were okay. I mean, but the guys that I played with, I still talk to a bunch of them throughout, like a week at a time kind of thing. So I do keep in touch with some of them, and it's pretty cool. Through growing up, you make lifelong lasting friends. So that's definitely one thing I will take away from hockey, is it gives you some pretty good friendships throughout your life.
Oh, without a doubt. So talk a little bit about the River Kings. I believe you were the captain that season, and you had a phenomenal season, 105 points, if that's correct, and everything, 51 goals and 54 assists. You guys went pretty far into the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I mean, so from playing my 2 years in Port Perry, we had a bunch of guys on Port Perry that were from the Oshawa, Whitby, and Ajax region. So this junior A team and the GMHL, so it's a Tier 2 junior A.
Yep.
I mean, there's not too much of a difference. I mean, the top teams are pretty good throughout other junior A leagues spread out through Ontario, so I don't find the league too much of a difference. But, I mean... I know, just quickly off topic here, but if you look at the Rookie of the Year for the Fed, Ryan Hunter, He just came out as the junior last year, so it has produced a lot of good quality players throughout the years. So, but Oshawa was good. The coach approached me over Facebook and said, hey, I know you're from the area. Would you like to locally play for the new junior A team that I'm coaching? So I don't know if you're familiar with his name, Kyle Powell. He, back in the day, he used to play for the St. John's Maple Leafs.
Oh, yeah.
He played a few years in the East Coast, I believe, 2 years in the SC. His brother, Leo Thomas, as well. He used to be the captain for the Mississippi River Kings in the SC. I want to say like maybe 10 years ago now. That was actually where my first professional tryout was, because that off-road year, Leo was still in Mississippi, and Khalil, being my coach, got me to go to their training camp. So I went to their training camp, and I left a good impression on the coach, but he wanted me to go back and finish my 21-year junior. So I did just that, and I played, again, half the season forward, half the season on D. So a lot, like, I guess 105 points looks pretty good, but a lot of those points were playing forward at the time. So Oshawa was good. I guess throughout that's where my leadership skills kind of really started, being a captain. That was the first time being a captain on the team, so you had to think about things differently and go about things in a different manner.
Now, talk about that. Talk about that for a second. What do you mean by that? What did you have to start to learn and start to do differently than maybe you were doing before once they put that C on you?
I mean, C or A, it doesn't really matter what letter you have. You just have to be a little bit more respectful on the ice, obviously, to coaches, to referees, and stuff like that. But you're looked upon from your own team as like a leader. So if someone's watching you slack off on the ice kind of thing, they're going to think it's okay to do that. So you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. Just so everyone kind of plays at that level consistently, you know. So
right.
It's just a little bit of a different role that you're looked at in a different way than just a player or kind of like a goalie type of thing, because obviously goalies are, there's only two of them on the team and they have a different job to do. But I mean, being a leader, it's an honor to get that from a coach. So
yeah, and you guys had a good season and went far into the playoffs. How important was that to all of those guys on that team to be able to do what you guys did that season? It was a successful season, especially for you personally, but also for the team.
I mean, for it being a brand new team in that league, it was nice to make it. I think it was the second round or third round of playoffs we ended up playing it. But it was just good for the franchise because it ended up drawing a lot more local players that wanted to play in that area, a lot younger talent that didn't know about the team kind of thing, and it kind of helped out the franchise. And then they rebranded recently, so now they are the Durham Roadrunners, and they have been quite successful. So it was, I'll call it a stepping stone in that organization. So it was a good first year, and it's pretty much gone uphill since then.
Now, Kyle, before we get into your pro career, let me ask you this question. When you do eventually decide to retire, okay, and, we'll talk about the last game of the season in a little while and everything, but when you do eventually decide to retire, would you ever consider, because you're one of the guys that we see on the ice, and the fans see it on the ice, and I, as a media member, see it on the ice and goes, that's the kind of guy that we need teaching the young kids, the 15, 16, maybe 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, how to be a professional. In some because sometimes, most fans know that, because I've talked about junior hockey enough, that a lot of junior hockey is run like professional hockey and everything, and they're, kids are on the road, and in some cases they get stipends and paid and things of that nature, and it's just treated like a minor pro hockey team and everything. Would you ever consider maybe going up to Oshawa and maybe coaching for the Durham team or anything like that? Is that something that you've considered or thought about?
I mean, definitely, whenever the playing days are officially over, then coaching is obviously the next step in my plans for still being in the game and being involved. Obviously, first, my little boy, Logan, obviously I'd want to coach him. But if that's not available at the time, then obviously find maybe a junior team or a minor hockey team, or I kind of got into it a little bit this year with the senior A team, just kind of helping out coaching. So coaching is definitely the next step in my plan once my playing days are over.
Is it surprising that Cam Yarwood is a coach? Because he is one of those guys, we love to watch him play on the ice, and I'm thinking to myself, that guy's teaching young kids how to play hockey and everything. Is it, you've known Cam for a long time and everything. What's it like to know that he's coaching the young kids how to play hockey? Because he's tough on the ice, and he's all over the place, but he's got some mad skills with a stick, too.
Yeah. No, Cameron Latcher is the assistant coach for the team, so it's obviously it's just his next step kind of in his plan, right? So it's nice to see him get a little bit more recognized. I know he has a good coaching partner in Glenn Patterson there. He spent time in this league as well. But no, being one of Cam's good friends growing up in the last few years, some people might think it's a shock that he's a coach, but realistically, off the ice, he's really good with kids and He knows what he's talking about. He's got a good brain on his shoulders, so it definitely wasn't a shock to me seeing him become a head coach for a junior team. It was kind of just a long time coming, So,
right.
I'm happy for him, and I'm glad that he's in that role now.
Yeah, he's got some mad skills, kind of like you do and everything. And so it's kind of nice to have someone like Cam and someone like you that are considering teaching people, because the game has gotten so much better. When you started in the Fed in 2016, 2017, actually even before that, because you were with the Titans for 10 games and everything, can you talk a little bit about the difference between then and now when it comes to the amount of skill that is actually in the game? It seems like it's grown and gotten better every single year.
Yeah, I mean, my first year that it was at the end of my Oshawa season when I was in that junior league. Danbury called me, and he's not the famous Phil Esposito, but Phil Esposito was the coach of Danbury at the time, and gave me a call and said I had a really good junior season, that if I wanted to continue playing hockey, I had a spot down there in Danbury. Obviously, it wasn't just given to me. I'd go prove myself and earn it. So I did just that, and the league has definitely changed since 2015, 2016. And, I mean, if you were to ask other players, kind of like an Ahmed Mahfouz, the league has definitely changed from years prior when he was in the league as well. So it's definitely a lot more physical and gritty, tough back in the day. A lot more tough guys per team. Obviously, throughout the years, the league has changed as well. So there's a different kind of playing style throughout those first couple of years in the league. But most recently, being in the league so long, you definitely see the speed change, the skill of players, and kind of, honestly, more the youth. Teams are going younger, which is not a bad thing, obviously, that Sherwood has done that in Binghamton, and it's working really, really well for them. He's doing a good thing there. And once you find a couple of young players and you just keep recruiting that way, obviously you're going to find more level players like that. Obviously, Sherwood went through Adrian, and he's got, 4, 5, 6 guys there.
Yeah.
And they're top-end guys on the team right now. So it's the younger speed and younger skill, and it's kind of taking over the league now.
Well, let me ask you this question. Tyler Jurich is a superstar in this league. Like, everybody knows who he is. And he's, obviously, he's got 300 goals in the league and everything. How important do you think it was that he became the head coach of the Elmira River Sharks? Because to me, it seems like it only makes sense that he, if he wanted to, anywhere, that he should be a coach, because not just because, it should be given to him, but because he's earned it, and he's really, honestly, a good thing for the league. What are your thoughts on Tyler Jurich being a head coach?
I mean, Jurich has adapted over his career. I started off with him in Danbury, so me and him have been very familiar with each other, grown into being best friends with him. So just seeing him change from player to coach is a good thing. He has definitely wanted to get into coaching. I know through the last few years of playing, that was kind of his goal. But like you said, it wasn't just given to him. He earned it. He did everything right throughout his years of playing. He's changed a few things around, which every player has over time. So he's definitely proved himself to be, obviously, a good coach. Kind of a crafty way to end our season this year with not making the playoffs, but that doesn't show the type that Tyler is. I mean, he's got a good head on his shoulders, and at the point that he is, and the point that I will get to eventually, is you want to give back to the players and teach other players things to do, things not to do, and whatnot like that. So,
well, that's what I like about you and Cam and now Tyler Jurich coaching or getting into coaching or thinking about coaching, because you guys did things on the ice the right way, all three of you guys did, and so it's kind of good to kind of see that. But with Tyler, what was interesting to see this year was a little bit more of a fiery side. Like, he was trying to stick up for you guys, being behind the bench in ways that we didn't even see him do sometimes actually when he was on the ice, which was pretty impressive. It was an interesting view to see him get that fiery in some cases, like the Watertown game, and it was just an interesting sight. And so he's trying to grow not only as a human being but also as a coach, being his first year, and I thought it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously becoming a coach right out of your playing career is sometimes can be tough to adapt to, but I think a lot of coaches themselves can speak for themselves. It's a learning curve, right? So
yeah,
obviously his first year he did some things that were good, obviously a couple things that were bad. So he takes notes of everything pretty much, and he adapts to it, right? So, I mean, the fieriness, I know fans in the last 2 years in Binghamton haven't really seen it out of him. I have definitely seen it throughout years. It kind of takes a lot to bring out of him. So when he gets to that boiling point and kind of reacts and I guess you can say snap in a way, it's not that he just does it out of pure anger. It's for a reason too, right? I mean,
sure.
It shows the team, his players, that he cares and he's willing to go to battle first before the players. So players see that and they respond to that, right? So it's a good thing. And obviously, Drake did really well this year. So,
how special was the years in Watertown for you? Obviously, some awards, winning a championships, those type of things. How special was Watertown for you?
It was pretty spectacular. I mean, to look at the awards and the championships is one thing, but the thing I'll remember most about Watertown is that's where I was when my son was born.
Sure.
That's where I was playing. So, actually, the year he was born in 2017, and at the end of April of that season is the year we won the championship. So, it's that'll forever hold a spot in my heart, and I guess you can say I call Binghamton home as well, but Watertown's like a second home. So it's special to play there for as long as I did with the players that I was with and the coaches that I had. So playing as the away team, it's definitely been different the last couple of years. You don't really notice what the fans react to and how they treat you as the away team, but it's inside of 60 minutes, it's a business job, right? So
right.
They can heckle you and bash you and blah, 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 and the second the game's done, they are the first ones to come up and talk to you. So there's not a lot of bad things to say about Watertown. Obviously, it's the winningest organization in the league right now, so it's good to say I was a part of that and help the organization to do what they've been doing. So I don't even know how many years. I think it was 4 years there. It was a great time.
Yeah, and I'm going to guess because from everything that I've seen, talking to fans from Watertown and Elmira and Danbury and Carolina and Columbus, some of these fans really appreciate the players so much because we know that obviously if you're a player playing in the FPHL, you don't make a lot of money. We already know that. That's been well documented many times and everything like that. But the fans really do because they know that you guys don't. Some fans think you guys make millions of dollars, but it's not true. But the majority of fans are smart enough to know that you guys don't make a lot of money. They show so much. I've seen it here in Binghamton for the last 3 years, how much the fans try to do for the players and care for, the players and everything. I'm sure it happened in Watertown and Elmira and Danbury and all the different cities, in the FPHL. For you, how important has been that relationship with the fans and how they've helped you throughout these years in the league?
Realistically, if fans don't go into the building to watch your game, you aren't getting paid, right?
Right.
So if you can give back in the slightest way to fans, friends, a big shout out to every team's booster club.
Yeah.
Because Booster Club takes on a job that not a lot of people would. So every booster club that each team has is spectacular. They go over the top and treat the team like they're your own children, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So booster clubs all around the world, obviously in this league, especially the ones that I've had, it's just the greatest thanks to them. But if you can give back to the fans, they're going to treat you obviously with more respect and kind of take you under their wing kind of thing. So throughout the years, obviously you grow closer to some friends and fans, and you just keep in touch. So throughout my playing career, I've created long life-lasting friendships throughout people that just started to become out as a fan. So it definitely changes in your perspective as you get older too, that they're not just a fan, they're there to support you and they want to support you. So if you're doing something right to keep them coming back, then that's a good thing.
Am I wrong? I've heard that some booster clubs, like, you'll find out like a washing machine or a refrigerator dies in wherever place that the players are playing at and literally are living at, and a booster club will go and buy them whatever they need to take care of that kind of stuff. Is that true? Have you heard where, or seen where booster clubs have really kind of reached out and done that kind of thing to help the players out sometimes? Because to me, the stories I've heard is just pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the booster club takes care of any in-house items that you need. So
that's crazy.
Between, like you were saying, a refrigerator, a microwave, a toaster oven, Keurig, all those little things that you need around your house, coffee tables, bed frames, beds, stuff like that. The booster club is pretty spectacular.
Wow.
If, say someone's microwave just blew and they needed a microwave, they'll try and figure out an option if someone can donate one or if they can fundraise some money quickly to go purchase one. And if not, I know booster clubs have a little bit of a wallet that they have for each season. So it's pretty amazing that something can die and 24 to 48 hours later it's pretty much back. So
yeah, because of the booster club.
I don't think booster clubs get a lot of credit for what they do.
Probably not enough credit. If they do get some, probably not enough. You came to Binghamton in 2021, 2022, and you helped start the first introduction to the FPHL to Binghamton with that team and everything. I'm going to guess it's because of the relationship that you had with Andreas that brought you here and everything. Were you surprised on how quickly Binghamton fans, where it's been a city for, before then, 49 years of amazing hockey and everything, AHL, Duster years where the Dusters played, in the slap shot era of hockey in the 70s and everything. But then you guys come in, and that first group of guys came in, and you guys had to sell FPHL hockey to Binghamton fans, right? And, some of us were a little bit of elitists. We're like, we don't want FPHL hockey and stuff. And yet you guys came in, and now this year they almost averaged 4,000 fans a game. Can you talk a little bit about that first season in Binghamton?
Yeah, I mean, as a player, obviously the relationship I had with Andreas and Don attracted me there to begin with. But just knowing through hockey, like Binghamton was an AHL city for however many years, and now they're in this league. It was like, it's like a kid in a candy store. It was like, I want to play there. That's the place to be in. So obviously the facility speaks for itself. It's top end, first class. So it's just, everything was a bonus to playing there. Like, just being there was enough. But to play there, to experience it all, like, to walk out of that room that Jason Spezza and all those older guys that have walked out of that dressing room have, it's pretty cool to see the history of players throughout the years, and to say that I got to play there for a little bit was amazing.
Yeah, Ray Emery was here, Jason Spezza, you mentioned it. I covered these guys and talked to them. Mark Stone, who's now an NHL captain, a guy who, post-game interviews I did with him. It is pretty kind of crazy. Some of the players that have come through here, goaltenders for the Whalers like Peter Sigdorfigets and stuff. It's a pretty interesting crew. So it's like, and there are players here now like Nolan Egbert, who's the goaltender here for Binghamton, and he's like, I had to go researching, and I was like, I couldn't believe some of the players that came through Binghamton. And it's like, yeah, I mean, when you look at minor league hockey cities, you have the Hershey, Pennsylvanias, and maybe Springfield or Cleveland, where the Lock Monsters, and you got Providence with the Bruins that have been there for year after year after year. There's a lot of people that have come through those doors that you used to go through in Binghamton to go out on the ice that have now played in the NHL. It's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, that's probably the coolest part about it, is just being able to be, I guess, obviously it's the Fed, so it's whatever for some people, but to be a part of hockey history like that, to be one of those guys, it's kind of cool. So obviously all the guys there are treating it amazingly, and kudos to all the guys that are still there, and obviously good luck to Binghamton in the playoffs. Hopefully they can bring a championship back to that city, because obviously Binghamton deserves it, right? So it'd be cool to see, because I think, 2012 was the last time?
2011.
2011, the Calder Cup. So, I mean, it's been a long time coming, right? And bringing hockey back to Binghamton, it was pretty fun and pretty amazing to see the fans kind of, oh, we don't want the Fed. But now that they realize how fun and entertaining and high-scoring, fast-paced the hockey is, it's drawn more people throughout the years. Obviously, in the last 3 years, every year's gone up in average attendance. And even throughout the last few years that the Devils were there and the Sens were there, the average attendance throughout Binghamton and the Fed is skyrocketed throughout the past few years that they had the AHL team there.
Yeah. Actually, what's interesting, and I want to get your opinion on this, because you were, in this, back in 2016 after you ended your Oshawa playing days. But the Fed has just grown with fans, right? You had two teams this year at 110,000 fans in the season. And, I think 9 out of the 11 teams had well over an average of over 1,000. There were some times in certain barns that you played in that barely had 300 or 400 people in it. So the growth of the fanship has been pretty amazing too, right, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, my first year in the league, the teams that we had, I mean, just a quick example, I know Berlin in New Hampshire, I think their rink could only hold 500, 600 people.
Right.
But those 500, 600 people were true faithful fans. I mean, any fan that shows up to the game, it is incredible to see the fan growth over the few years. So definitely it helps with bigger facilities as well. Like you said, the two teams, Binghamton and Baton Rouge, with over 100,000 fans in attendance. That's only 28 games. Like, imagine you had 41 home games scheduled like the NHL does. How much fans can, how much that number can grow to. It's pretty cool to see. So.
I totally agree. Okay, so before I let you go, there's a few obviously important things I want to talk to you about. In your mind, I know there was a coach's show, I think just in the last few days with Tyler Jurich. I mean, he talked very positively about hockey coming back to Elmira. If they announce that the team is coming back and Tyler calls you and says, I want you back, are you coming back?
I mean, it would definitely be tough to say no.
Okay.
So I'm definitely leaving the playing door open.
Yeah.
So I'm not retiring just yet unless something else comes into play for me.
Okay.
So my playing days are still open. I still feel good. I mean, other than the broken ankle I had last year in Binghamton.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've pretty much been injury prone, knock on wood, obviously. But no, I mean, if I get a call, obviously definitely there's things to discuss, but I'm definitely open to be playing again.
No, absolutely. That's great to hear, because obviously I took a picture at the final game, and that picture got distributed all over the place, and people were wondering why you went back out onto the ice or stayed out on the ice in Binghamton and got down to, one knee and thought about that game, because it looked like to a lot of people that maybe that was going to be your last game and everything. But you and I talked a little bit off the air. Can you kind of explain to people what you might have been doing in that moment?
I mean, obviously the picture speaks for itself. I was distraught. I was upset. But, I mean, obviously flashbacks happen, and I'm reminiscing and just thinking in those quick moments that, like, is this it? Obviously it passes through your head. But more or less, I was just a little bit more bummed in myself, because going into overtime, that the tie game was, Elmira would have made the playoffs, and as a veteran guy, however many years I've played, taking a late penalty like that's never a good thing. So it kind of hit me a little bit deeper in that aspect, that I kind of, I guess, helped or caused the situation that we didn't make playoffs. So it's actually one of the first years of my career that I haven't made playoffs. So that was kind of another thought running through my head, that I kind of just made our team not make playoffs, and that's the first time I'm not in the playoffs. So there's a bunch of things running through my head. Obviously, throughout the years, I mean, being one of the older guys and a long years in the league, you think about things in a little bit more in depth, and obviously it's up to your body how long you can play, right?
Sure.
It obviously it crossed my mind, but it wasn't at the top of my brain at that moment of, was it my last game? So
gotcha. So
I think I'll be around. I'm leaving the door open. That's all. I'll just go with that for now. So
that's completely fair. Let me ask you this though: when you finally left the ice and everything, and I think I was in complete shock. I looked out there and I had my camera in my hand still and everything at the end of the game, and I looked over and I was like, holy shit, that's Kyle Powell. I was like, is he retiring? Because immediately I saw that and said, oh, wait a second here, there's something big here and everything. When you skated off the ice and you went back into the locker room, what was that locker room like? I know this is like a gut-wrenching kind of question and everything, but what was that locker room like? I'm sure everyone was kind of bummed and everything. Did George say anything to you?
Not right away. I mean, going back into the room, obviously it's emotional. Knowing Watertown was up big in their game, we needed to at least get into overtime or win the game to get in the playoffs. So it was very emotional, because obviously each guy doesn't know what the next year will bring.
Sure.
So, I mean, some guys, they can get a good job, and that could have been their last game, or older guy like myself, if my body doesn't agree with me to play next year, that could have been my last game. So you just never really know in those moments if it is your last game. So there's just a lot of emotions running. Obviously, we're all upset and annoyed, pissed off, and stuff like that. So it was very quiet, to say the least. So.
And I can certainly understand. I can certainly believe that. I've been in locker rooms before where it was the final game of the season, and it was the final game for some players and everything. So I can completely understand that. Let me ask you this: how excited are you to have your little boy playing hockey soon?
I mean, it's definitely a goal of mine that he does. I guess follow in my steps, kind of like how I followed in my dad's steps to play hockey. So it'd be pretty cool to watch him, help him, teach him to play hockey. If he doesn't play hockey, it's not the end of the world. Whatever he wants to do, obviously I'm there 1,000% to support him. So whatever his little brain wants him to do in this world, I'm right there next to him. So it was pretty cool this year to have him out, and we were in Port Huron and got to read the starting lineup. So I got a little choked up there, and it's emotional, and I wonder why all the NHL guys emotional and tear up when their kids come in their room. So
now you
I can
understand.
definitely speak firsthand. So
Yeah.
it definitely hits a different heartstring there.
But it's pretty cool. It's a really cool. I mean, let's be honest. That's a very cool moment to have. Your boy come in and reading starting lineup, and it does feel like, wow, I'm in the NHL doing the same exact thing as Ryan Callahan just did with his kid. You know what I mean? It's just like it's the same. It doesn't matter what league. It's a special moment, and if someone's got that on video, that's something that you're going to show to him 5 years from now, and you're going to be like, look, see, you did that as well. So, which I think is pretty darn cool, if you ask me. I want to make one point to you, and every person, no matter what city you played in, from Watertown to Elmira to Binghamton, any person that I spoke to that had spoken to you, that had have a conversation with you, that had a relationship with you of any sort, have always said that you were one of the most upstanding, one of the genuinely nice guys in hockey. And I just want to tell you that. I don't know if you've ever heard that or if anyone said that to you, but that means a lot to a lot of people. And just a big thank you for being that kind of a person. I can honestly say that there were a few people when I said, listen, I'm going to interview Kyle Powell, and they were ecstatic that you were going to be on the show and everything because they, people, I think, genuinely like and love you that much.
Yeah, no, obviously that's a big thank you to everyone that has said that about me. Obviously, throughout the playing years, I've made mistakes, which everyone does.
Sure.
But you learn from it, you adapt, and you try and become better every day, right? So I've always tried to portray myself in that manner, and anyone that speaks to myself or anyone that speaks to Sidney Crosby, we're professional hockey players, but it doesn't take much to have respect for another human being. So whenever anyone talks to you, it's just, right now, it's just Kyle to Bobby, It's not, I'm a Fed professional player to a media reporter,
Yeah, no,
so
I totally get it.
A human interaction, as long as you can take it as that instead of a fan talking to a professional hockey player, then you're doing the little things right.
When you treat each person, no matter what their title is, as a human being, it makes a difference, right?
Yeah,
It really does.
It goes a long way.
It goes a long way.
Obviously, like you said, I've made long-lasting friends and relationships. So to anyone that has said that about me, I sincerely thank you.
Hey, let me ask you one last thing. Obviously, growing up just outside of Toronto, I'm guessing you're a Maple Leafs fan?
I'm a Leafs fan at heart, but my favorite team is Tampa Bay. So
really? Okay, now explain why. I mean, I haven't heard anything about Florida in this 45 minutes that you and I have been talking to each other. It's actually 50 minutes now, and nothing about Florida. And all of a sudden, I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. So tell me why.
Growing up, Stamkos was kind of one of my favorite players. I followed him in the OHL when he was in Sarnia. So I kind of just followed him, and obviously when he got to Tampa, it was cool to see. He goes to one of the teams that I liked. But growing up, obviously throughout hockey history, you have the Vincent Lecavalier, Martin St. Louis, all Dave Anderchuk, Nikolai Habibulin type era of players. So Tampa Bay has gone through quite a few of historic players. So obviously Stamkos going there made it a little bit easier to be a Tampa fan. So in the last few years, we've had some good success, but we'll see what the Lightning can pull through. So,
well, I was just going to ask you, what's the scouting report? How does Tampa Bay get into this series against Florida, being down 0-2 at the moment?
It's tough, they're at that elite level of expertise. So I don't know what they got to do, but if anything, the only thing I can say is get traffic in front of that goalie, because Bobrovsky
he's awesome.
Is stellar. So
is.
So is Vasilevsky, but Florida's doing something right to beat him. So
yeah,
if Tampa's going to do anything, they got to get to Bobrovsky.
Bob's is kind of crazy how good he is, and sometimes when the biggest games happen, he has it and he does it. But I will tell you this: I interviewed John Cooper for the Power Play Post Show 2 months after he went to the NHL. And he was obviously in Syracuse, and he gets promoted up. And I'd asked for the interview before he got promoted up, and I get this random phone call from the Syracuse people, and they said, "Hey, listen, you need to call John Cooper at this time, on this day and everything, and he's going to do the interview with you." I was like, "Wait, he's coaching Tampa Bay right now," and they were like, "Nope." He promised he was going to do the interview, and he's going to still do the interview. And that's how
that's pretty cool.
That's so stand up. It was great. Obviously, I was covering the AHL at the time and everything, and I had a great relationship with Syracuse, and still do. There's some people up there that I could reach out to in a heartbeat, and get something if I needed it and everything. But John Cooper came on the show and actually did the show as an NHL coach instead of an AHL coach, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's pretty neat, especially that he reached out to you to still do it. So that's good on him, obviously, and that's pretty special.
Yeah,
to have interviews with people like that.
It is. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on. And honestly, let's do this again next year, especially if you're still playing. Let's talk again, especially during the season. Whatever team that you end up at, or whatever situation you get in, let's talk to you again and get you on and talk a little bit. And hopefully, you said your little boy's Logan, right?
Yeah, Logan. He's 6 right now. So,
6 right now, but he's skating, right? You got him out there. He's skating pretty good, right?
Yeah, he's on skates. So we'll see if he starts to play soon. But
gotcha.
No, it was all my pleasure, Bobby. Thanks for having me on here, and we will definitely not wait as long to speak again through this podcast, and hopefully soon it'll be in person.
Yeah, in person. Yeah, I'll have to definitely, especially if you get back down in the States and you're playing on one of the teams, I'm going to come looking for you and everything. He is Kyle Powell from the Elmira River Sharks, former Binghamton Black Bear, former Watertown Wolf, and, of course, a 4-time Defenseman of the Year. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show. Kyle?
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Listen, we're only an hour away until Monday morning, right? So thank you very much for listening. It's been a late night for me. The Carolina Columbus game took 4 hours to play, and then I came in here and started recording these segments for you and putting everything together. So I want to thank everybody for listening on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever you're listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Thank you so much for listening. The Facebook group is growing. The amount of listens that we're getting is definitely growing. So thank you. And I know we're near the end of the season, but we still got a couple more weeks of great hockey action for the Binghamton Black Bears, and hopefully hoisting a Commissioner's Cup here really soon. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for the Power Play Post Show. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Thank you to Rob Lapolis, our MC, John Petitucci, our musical director, and from the Binghamton Black Bears, Austin Thompson and Coach Brant Sherwood. And, of course, thank you to Kyle Powell for coming on and telling his story right here on the Power Play Post Show. I'll talk to you guys this upcoming Thursday. Don't forget, I'll be on Fox 40 on Monday for the Sports Roundup, previewing this upcoming series against the Carolina Thunderbirds. Thank you for listening, everybody. I'm Bob Howard, and this is the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.